In 1944, the American army moved a tank division up to the front line in France. The tanks weighed about 40 kilograms each. 4 men could pick one up and carry it. They were made of rubber. So were the trucks, the artillery and the aircraft parked beside them. The division did not exist. 1,100 men were pretending to be 30,000. 34. They were painters, fashion designers and sound engineers, and they are thought to have saved between 15 and 30,000 lives. You have probably never heard of them because all of it stayed classified until 1996. Start with the problem they were built to solve. An army is only strong where it happens to be standing. Move it and you leave a hole. If the enemy sees the hole before you can fill it, thousands of your people die in it. So the question becomes, can you make an army appear somewhere it is not? In January 1944, the army activates a unit with a deliberately boring name, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Nothing in the title tells you what it does. Recruiters go to art schools, Pratt Institute, Cooper Union, Parsons. They are looking for people who can make a thing look like another thing. Among the men they take are a future fashion designer, a future painter whose work now hangs in major museums, and a photographer who will define an era. The unit has 4 parts, and each one lies to a different sense. One battalion handles what the enemy sees, one company handles what the enemy hears, one handles what the enemy picks up on the radio, and one is there to defend the other 3 because none of them can fight. The visual deception is the part everyone remembers. Rubber tanks inflated with compressed air. A dummy Sherman weighs about 90 pounds, a real one weighs 30 tons. From a reconnaissance aircraft at altitude they are identical. But the illusion is not the tank, the illusion is everything around it. The men drag chains behind jeeps to cut real track marks into the mud. They light cooking fires for units that are not there. They hang laundry, they leave rubbish. An empty camp has to look lived in. The sound unit is stranger and in some ways more impressive. At Fort Knox, engineers record real armored units, tanks moving, bridges being built, men walking at night. The recordings go onto wire, then onto 500-pound speakers mounted on half-tracks. On a still night, the sound carries about 25 kilometers. German listening posts hear an armored division assembling in a wood where there is nothing but 8 men and a truck. The radio deception is the most technically difficult and the least visible. Every telegraph operator has a personal rhythm on the key. Other operators recognize it the way you recognize handwriting. It is called a fist. German intelligence tracked American units by listening for familiar fists. So the ghost army operators studied the real operators of the units they impersonated and copied their rhythm. When a real division moved out in silence, a ghost army operator kept its radio traffic running from the place it had left. And then there is a part that reads like theater, because it was the men sewed the shoulder patches of whichever division they were impersonating that week. They painted the markings of that division onto their vehicles, then painted them out and painted new ones. They drove into towns and talked loudly in cafes about the division that was supposedly arriving. 2 of them would put on the insignia of generals, and be seen in public, so that watchers would report generals in the wrong place. They arrive in Normandy shortly after the landings into a war that is already moving fast. Over the next 9 months, they run 21 separate operations across France, Luxembourg, and Germany. Each one is the same basic trick, adjusted to the ground and to whoever is watching. Fill the hole a real division left behind. Hold the enemy's attention while it is somewhere else. In August, they operate outside the port of Brest, simulating a force far larger than the one actually there. The operation is judged a partial success. It also nearly gets them killed. The problem with pretending to be a division is that the enemy treats you like one. They are shelled, they have no armor, no artillery, and almost nothing to shoot back with. This is a part usually left out of the funny version of the story. Their entire job is to attract the attention of people trying to kill them, while being unable to fight. 3 of them are killed, dozens more are wounded. They are, in practice, unarmed men, standing where an armored division is supposed to be. The largest thing they ever do comes in March 1945 at the Rhine. The Ninth Army intends to cross. Where it crosses decides how many men die doing it. So the 23rd is sent 10 miles downstream, to a place called Viersen, to be 2 divisions that do not exist. 600 inflatable vehicles, sound of engines and bridge building through the night, radio traffic from 2 full divisions, fake headquarters, fake military police at the crossroads, fake generals in the villages. German artillery is drawn to Viersen. The Ninth Army crosses the Rhine somewhere else against far less resistance than it expected. Estimates of how many lives the unit saved run between 15 and 30,000. Those numbers are estimates because you cannot count the men who were not killed at a crossing that did not happen. What is certain is that repeatedly the enemy moved to meet an army that was not there, and each time a real army went somewhere else. When the war ends, the men go home and are told the same thing they were told at the start. Saying nothing. Not to your family, not to your friends, not to other veterans. The methods still work, and the next war might need them. So for 50 years, these men sit through conversations about what everyone did in the war and say nothing at all. Some of them die before the file is opened. The records are finally declassified in 1996. The survivors are in their 70s and 80s. Most of the men who did the work are already gone. In 2022, Congress votes them the Congressional Gold Medal. It is presented in 2024. 7 of them are alive to receive it. There is something worth sitting with in this story. An army spent enormous effort building weapons that could destroy a city. And one of the most effective things it ever did was hand rubber and paint to a group of art students. The men who did it were never allowed to say so, and most of them never got to. If you got this far, you want the history that gets buried under the headlines. Subscribe and I will keep digging it up.